Hi, welcome everyone. In this lecture we are going to discuss the key ideas of business model innovations, and also we will discuss generic business models. What is this and why do we care about them? Let us start with some definitions. As I have already argued before, the term business model and now the term business model innovation, they became buzzwords that are used in popular business media, even by thought leaders, by academics, without too much thinking about what it is. And as a result, people use conflicting definitions. What one means by business model innovation is not business model innovation in the eyes of somebody else. So there is a lot of mess in the field, and we have to add some structure to this mess before we proceed with the discussing of practical frameworks. So business model. Business model is a system of routines for value creation and appropriation. So business model is a routinized system of activities in the organization that are needed for value creation, which means having happy stakeholders, solving problems for all critical stakeholders. And also value appropriation means having some profit left once everyone else is made happy. So business model is what happens in your organization on day-to-day basis, recurrent activity system for value creation and value appropriation. Now, if you alter something in your business model, so for example, you have been doing manufacturing yourself, now you outsourced manufacturing. Or for example, you have been selling cars, traditionally you have been selling automobiles, and now you lease them. Or you create a car sharing sort of business model. So all of these are changes in your current business model. Those changes can be radical when you do major overhaul of your business model. In your four quadrants of the business model, we see major changes everywhere. Or alternatively, this can be an incremental change, which is progressive refinement, minor tweaking of your business model in order to make it more effective and efficient. On the other hand, business model changes can be new to the world when you introduce something totally new, either to the world or at least to your industry, a new business model, a new system of activities for value creation and capture that was not used before, at least in your industry. This is new to the world. This is true innovations. On the other hand, there are new to the firm innovations, which is essentially imitation of what the competitors are doing. And we will discuss in the next, after 30 seconds, we will discuss what's the difference or examples. So, business model innovation is only these new to the world changes. When you do some changes and the emerging business model is totally new to the industry or to economy as the whole. So, the whole set of business model changes is huge. Within this set, there is a small subset of business model innovations that are actually new to the world things. Everything else is new to the firm, is merely imitation what everyone else is doing in your industry. Formal definition. Business model innovation is intentional, unique for the industry or to the world in general, change of the firm's business model in response to perceived opportunity to make it more effective or efficient. So business model innovation, first, it is something intentional. It doesn't happen just naturally. Usually managers have to conceive it, think about it, model it in their minds before they enact it in actual routines of the organization. Second, it is unique for the industry. That's the whole idea of innovation. Innovation is something new to the world or new to the industry. And it is changing the business model to make it more effective or efficient, or to increase the value creation or value capture, or simultaneously. Let's talk about examples. So, IBM is known for reinventing itself again and again and again. So, when IBM switched or shifted from producing of computers, mainframes, laptops to services for large corporations, this is definitely a radical business model change. So, it means total change of what is going on in four quadrants of the business model. Of course, this is not innovation, of course, business model innovation. It is new to the firm, but definitely not new to the industry. There are lots of other professional services firms that create value for companies, Accenture, McKinsey, BCG, and so on. Second thing, when Costco wholesale supermarket store introduced online sales channel in addition to traditional brick-and-mortar stores, this is definitely a business model change. So something has changed in system of activities for value creation and capture. Well, people can order online, but ultimately it is incremental thing. It does not require total changing of everything that was in Costco's 4 quadrants. So it is business model change. Of course, it is not business model innovation. It is imitation of what everyone else is doing, and it is incremental. It is gradual refinement of the business model. When Apple introduced iTunes Store matching its new iPod players, this was a true business model innovation. So on the one hand, this was definitely a change in what Apple has been doing before. Before, Apple has been hardware and software company. Now they became media providers. But simultaneously, this match of hardware, music player, and really convenient store was the first thing that was ever done in the industry. So this was a true business model innovation. On the other hand, a few years down the road, when Google, with their Android market, now it is called Google Play, followed the footsteps of Apple and introduced a way for Android users to buy music in Android market, this was definitely a business model imitation. It was not new to the industry. All they did was just imitate what Apple has done before. So, again, business model is system of activities for value creation and capture. If you change something there, it is business model change. If this change is new to the world or new to the industry, it has never been done before, we are talking about business model innovation. Otherwise, it is business model imitation, just following what others have been doing. Business model innovation and practice. First, as we have discussed a few times before, innovation for the sake of innovation doesn't make sense. Innovation is needed only in order to create competitive advantage for a company, in order to defend competitive advantage from imitation. So business model innovation is needed only as a pathway to competitive advantage. How can you do that in practice? This is where entrepreneurial design loop really helps. First thing first, inspiration and getting stakeholders' insights. Analyze the standard industry business models, particularly their weaknesses, unhappy customers, untapped demand. These are usually opportunities. These are major unsolved problems, opportunities for designing a new business model that will lead to a profitable venture. So, analyze standard industry business models. Every industry has one or two major ones. Manufacturing companies look really much like each other, or automotive producers. The standard automotive business model is very typical. So you produce cars and then you sell them through dealership networks that you don't own, and marketing, manufacturing, design, everything is pretty much standard. This is standard automotive business model. In comes Tesla, that doesn't use dealership networks, that does not use established ways for development of cars. So Tesla introduces a lot of business model innovations in automotive industry. So analyze the standard industry business models, particularly their weaknesses, unhappy customers, untapped demand. This is opportunity to start something great. Second thing, use business model design process, understand your customers, and use generic business models as sources of inspiration. Try to get something new. Generic business models is something that we are going to discuss at the end of this lecture. So there are standard blueprints which might inspire interesting, innovative thinking in you as you are trying to design a new business model. So if a generic business model is not present in your industry, but it is working in similar industries, maybe you just can import it into your industry. Finally, as usual, validate your business model. So validate and go in circles. Be prepared to get to continuous change, because you cannot get the right business model at once. So it is a standard entrepreneurial design loop, and it is very instrumental for business model innovation. But now let's get back to practice, from this general level to very practical level. What I suggest is to look at generic business models. Generic business models are blueprints or building blocks for business model design. It is the things, it is common patterns across industries that usually work across all industries. And if a particular generic business model is not present in your industry, this is the easiest way to innovate. Although maybe there are good reasons why a particular generic business model is not present, but during the validation stage you will see it. Industry-specific performance implications simply means that generic business models work differently in different industries, and sometimes they lead to enormous profit, sometimes to losses. So again, it depends, but during the validation stage you will see it. Let's discuss those generic business models. And there is over 50 of those. Out of those 50, there is 8 to 10 most important ones that I would like to discuss. Usually, when you are thinking about developing a business model for your particular solution to customer's problem, think first about these generic business models. Maybe by combining them, you can get something that is not present in your industry. So, blueprint number one, or generic business model number one, discounted business models. In every industry, there is a space for a discounter. There is a space for a company that does high volume, low price offering. There is space in every industry for its Walmart or even its dollar store. So, if we are talking about education, there are some low cost, discounted educational alternatives for students who cannot pay the full price, or for some reason cannot attend the typical universities. If we are talking about healthcare, there are discounted solutions there, although not so many. So basically in education you have more choices about which kind of discounted things to offer. So every industry needs to have its own Walmart with its pluses and minuses. If there is no discounted business model in your industry, maybe think about developing one. Discounted business models are all about, or discounted business model innovation is all about switching from low volume, high price, boutique type of offering towards high volume, low price offering. Real estate brokerage, this is all about going to discounted brokerage model, giving limited services, but for lower price. And so on. Discounted business models, this is where you have to emphasize efficiency in every business model design choice. Things like standardization, economies of scale, high utilization rate, outsourcing, negative cash cycle, which basically means your supplier pay for your operations. All of these things are essential parts of discounted business models. A lot of people critique Walmart because Walmart allegedly destroys local communities, destroys small stores that are around. But you cannot blame Walmart for that. Walmart is a discounter. Discounter concentrates on efficiency in every business model design choice, which means paying as little as possible to employees, which means squeezing as much as possible from its suppliers, and lots of other things. But that's Walmart's business model. And if somebody doesn't like Walmart, they are free to try to outcompete Walmart on the basis of some dimensions that customers might find important. Most disruptive innovations fall also within these discounted business models. Some might say that Walmart itself is a disruptive innovation. Blueprint number two, profiting from the long tail. The whole idea of this business model is that in the traditional world of brick and mortar stores, the companies could have limited inventory. They could keep limited number of SKUs, stock keeping units, limited number of products in their warehouses and on their shelves. So if you go to a bookstore, for example, even large bookstore, they can sell essentially only bestsellers. There is limited number, their shelf space is extremely limited, and as a result it is reserved for bestsellers only. However, there is a lot of, for example, books that are not bestsellers, but when you add together their potential sales, if customers can get access to them, this creates a lot of potential value. This creates a lot of revenue that right now that is lost in traditional brick and mortar retail. So if we look at this example, let's think about books. So traditional brick and mortar stores are selling only very limited number of books that are bestsellers. So essentially, if you go to Costco, you will see there probably 50 to 100 titles of books, but each of those books will be in large pile because people will just buy them. If you want to get something non-standard, you cannot buy it at Costco. Yeah, you cannot even buy it at Barnes & Nobles or Chapters in Canada, simply because their shelf space is limited. In comes Amazon. Amazon allows you to order any book you want. So Amazon is profiting from the tail of the heavy tail distribution of book sales. So basically all this yellow area is books or music items that are not bestsellers, and you cannot buy them in regular store. Amazon is profiting from it. So profiting from the tail of the heavy tail distribution is this idea of profiting from the long tail. This is very important. This business model will work if you have proper search mechanisms. If a person can find a proper book or a proper music that they want to, proper song, for example, that they want to buy. Production on demand, no inventory, works really well here. Of course, with media stores like music stores or game stores, it's not a big deal because production essentially is there on demand. But even books right now, Amazon has huge warehouses, has huge printing machines, and if you are ordering a book, there is a chance that this book will come from, will be printed on demand in local Amazon's warehouse. Why this is important? So this profiting from the long tail business model essentially democratizes the music industry, it democratizes the game development software industry, it democratizes the books industry, because if I write a book, obscure book that will be read only by 100 people worldwide, and then that's it, in the world before Amazon, before long tail business models, I would never see my readers. But today, with proper search mechanisms, my customers can find me and buy my book even if there will be only 100 copies sold. So this is profiting from the long tail. Blueprint number 3, multi-sided platforms. Multi-sided platform is a business model that facilitates transactions between a couple of sides of the market, between, for example, buyers and sellers, or between advertisers, people who watch YouTube videos, and people who upload YouTube videos. So multi-sided platform is the key value proposition of this business model is facilitating transactions between groups of stakeholders, between sides of the market. Multi-sided platforms existed well before internet. If we are thinking about traditional shopping malls, what shopping malls are doing? They are creating space where sellers, stores, independent stores can meet buyers who come to these malls, or matchmaking services that has been with humanity for ages. So if people want to get married, they are trying to find a match, there can be a matchmaker that links together two sides of this market. That's what multi-sided platforms are all about, and of course in internet we see more and more of them, up to a level that some business books right now talk about don't create products, create platforms that would allow people who make products to get their buyers and buyers to get producers. I believe that actually this might be too much. Ultimately, platforms are important, but somebody must also actually create that value that platform facilitates to materialize. So, multi-sided platforms, all auctions, marketplaces, app, multimedia stores, all of them are here. Google is typical multi-sided platform, Google search. So, Google links together end users who are doing search, advertisers who compete for users' attention, and content providers who want their websites to be found by customers. YouTube is also a multi-sided platform. It is also crowdsourcing and other things, but ultimately it is multi-sided platform linking together users who want to watch videos, video providers who upload their videos, and advertisers who pay for all this festival of life. All of these are multi-sided platform. eBay is of course a typical multi-sided platform. It links together buyers and sellers. Value proposition of all multi-sided platform is facilitating interaction between different user groups. What's important? There are two basic ways a multi-sided platform can monetize its value, either through charging the brokerage fee, so every time a transaction takes place, a multi-sided platform takes a cut. This is usually the preferred way to do it. This is the preferred way to monetize value, because ultimately brokerage fee means that first your revenue stream is secure. Every time the transaction happens you get a cut, but also it means that you get a cut only when the transaction happens. It means that value is created for both parties. However, if you cannot internalize the transactions, if you cannot make sure that transactions go through your multi-sided platform, you can charge advertisement fees. So you can show ads and get money. Also, what falls here is that falls under this category or similar. It is you can try to monetize the data that you are obtaining from those transactions. But in most cases, in 99% of cases, trying to sell the data will not work. So you have to rely either on brokerage fee if you can internalize the transactions, if the things happen through you, or if you cannot, it is advertisements. Why it's so important to think about it? Compare eBay, which is multi-billion dollar business, with, for example, Craigslist or Kijiji in Canada, which do essentially the same thing. They link together buyers and sellers. And of course, Craigslist is a big company, but it is definitely not such a huge multi-billion dollar company as eBay, simply because eBay is internalizing the transactions. Transactions happen through eBay and eBay is getting its cut, while Craigslist is not, and they have to rely on advertisements, for example. Now, crucial resource for all multi-sided platform business models is having enough users in all integrated markets. That's important. When you are pitching your idea for a multi-sided platform to investors, they will ask, so what prevents somebody from imitating your idea? This usually will be your answer. You will say that if we get an investment of X million dollars, it will allow us over the first year to develop enough buyers and sellers that anyone else will not be able to imitate us. So the crucial resource of multi-sided platform is having enough buyers and sellers, or enough advertisers, users who do search, and content providers. We are getting here to chicken and egg problem. If we want to start a new auction, for example, auction website, buyers will come only if there is enough sellers. Sellers will come only if there is enough buyers. And resolving this chicken and egg problem, there is no standard way to do that. You have to plan for that. Usually you need to find some strategic clients who might be, for example, the first buyers or the first sellers on your platform. Concentrate on getting the opposite. They will allow you to attract the opposite side of the market. Once the opposite side of the market is well developed, you will get the primary side of the market beyond your first strategic clients. But again, crucial resource, user base in all parts of the market. Blueprint number 4, freemium business models. Freemium business model is when a company offers the basics for free, but if a customer wants to get more, they have to pay. And by design, freemium business model is made in such a way that only a small percentage of free users turn into paid customers. Good example is LinkedIn and all this LinkedIn Gold, LinkedIn Premium, or whatever is the offering. So absolute majority of LinkedIn customers are free users, and they are going to remain free users. But a small percentage of users who are, for instance, professional headhunters, they need extra services, they pay extra services, and they get all the payments of this small percentage of paid customers it is enough in order to pay for the whole business model. What's important, freemium business model can work only with low marginal costs of serving additional users. This is essentially an internet-based phenomenon. In pre-internet years, we didn't have too many freemium business models. You cannot expect Toyota to give away Toyota Corollas for free and charge more for Toyota Camrys, expecting that money from Toyota Camrys will pay for the whole business model. It simply will not work. The major free thing that you could get in pre-internet era is free samples of food in a supermarket, which was advertising essentially, or promotion. Thanks to internet, we are talking about freemium business models. Dropbox, LinkedIn, and lots of others are working on this freemium basis. Of course, companies like LinkedIn, right now they complement freemium business model with multi-sided platform, so they try to show ads. Simultaneously, they try to link some sides of the markets, but at the core of LinkedIn is still this freemium business model idea. Blueprint number 5, razor blade business model. The whole idea here is that your business model has two offerings. One is initial loss leader offering, something that is needed in order to get customers locked in with your company. And after that, you will charge the full price for the follow-up offers. And of course, typical example is printers, inkjet printer, which you can buy, so the device itself would cost really cheap. Probably the company is not making a single penny on selling you the printer itself, but later they will make money on selling you the ink for your printer. Simultaneously, if we look at this razor and blade, well, that's essentially razor and blade. You can buy the startup package very cheaply, but later you will have to regularly pay for the blades that you will need, or later you will have to pay more and more for essentially the blades. Yes. Of course, this whole thing will work only if the customers are hooked. So if the customers can buy printer from you and then can buy ink from somebody else, this will not work. By the way, cell phone services is also a typical razor blade business model thing, when you get a phone without paying too much upfront, but later on your monthly payment increases so much that you pay for your phone the full price over a year or 2 years. Blueprint number 6. Now it is even more interesting. Blueprint number 6 is about bundling of business models. This is when you have initial offering and next offerings, but all of them are full priced. For example, iPod and iTunes from Apple, you pay the full price for iPod, it is really expensive, and simultaneously you pay full price for the content that you are buying on iTunes later on. It is also when you servitize your business model, when you link together the product and the service. And a good example is BMW. If you are buying a car, BMW, you pay the full price for the car, and then you pay the full price for service. So every time you would change your oil, and if you simultaneously have, for example, Toyota Corolla in your garage, you will feel the difference between BMW and Toyota Corolla. So the whole idea of these bundling business models is connected revenue streams, one business model. Blueprint number 7, crowdsourcing. Crowdsourcing business model is when users contribute content themselves. This is Web 2.0. This is when the key user-generated content is the key resource of your business model. So examples are Wikipedia, YouTube. Their key thing, their key resource, content is generated by users. And you can monetize it using ads as YouTube is doing, or donations as Wikipedia is doing. Very similar model is open source software business model. Great example is Red Hat company. Red Hat is multi-billion company that helps with development of Linux operating system. They have Red Hat Linux operating system. And what's interesting, you can go to their website and you can download this Linux for free and you can install it for free because it is open source. Because hundreds or thousands of software developers donated their time in order to develop the core of this Linux and key applications. Companies simply cannot sell you Red Hat Linux because huge part of it was developed by volunteering software developers. And the software license does not allow you to sell this software to somebody else. But Red Hat is monetizing their business model through service fees. If a large organization wants to use Red Hat Linux in their company, and this is the prudent way to do actually, because Linux is reliable, stable, it is the backbone of internet. But if a large company like a university wants to embrace Red Hat Linux, they will pay Red Hat extra for all the support that they provide, to make sure that there is somebody at the other end of a phone. If something goes wrong with your operating system, Red Hat will stand for you. And this works. Finally, blueprint number 8, product to service. Product to service is a typical shift that we see in our economy right now. It is when instead of buying a product, we buy the service from the product. Sharing business models like Zipcar, you don't have to buy a car, instead you share a car with lots of other users. All the leasing business models fall within this product to service category. So all this sharing economy that emerges right now, this falls within this product to service category. So think deeply about if in your industry typical players or large established players are selling products, maybe there is a way to actually lease out a product or sell the service from the product rather than product itself. And this might be your business model innovation. So, just to summarize, business model innovation is making changes in your business model or introducing a totally new business model to your industry in such a way that it creates a competitive advantage for you. How to do that? Well, there are different approaches for thinking about business model innovation, but one of the most practical one is take a look at generic business models. Think about, are all of them present in your industry? If not, getting generic business model into your industry, like, for example, long-tail distribution business model or razor and blade business model. You can introduce all of this into your industry, or maybe you can combine them. This is usually the way good business model innovations emerge.